So, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the bandwidth. I am your host, Rosie Faulkner. We want to welcome you again. We have a couple of housekeeping items. Please engage with us, ask questions if you have them. We will get to them during the conversation and also after. If you're not subscribed to our channel, make sure that you subscribe to our channel. At the end, please comment your biggest takeaway. Everyone, and welcome to the bandwidth. I am your host, Rosie Faulkner. We want to welcome you again. We have a couple of housekeeping items. Please engage with us, ask questions if you have them. We will get to them during the conversation and also after. If you're not Sorry about that. There was some feedback. Again, we will ask that you comment your biggest takeaway at the end of this episode. If you know one person that could benefit from this conversation, please share with them. And if you're not following us on IG, please make sure that you follow us. And that's Faulkner_Rosie. So I want to thank the Style True team, Jennifer and Eugene, for putting this live together. They do such a fantastic job in getting the guests and getting everything prepared. The title of today's live is How to Develop a Business Mindset for Entrepreneur Success. And we have Courtney here with us. She is a mindfulness coach and a wellness practitioner. So Courtney, welcome to the bandwidth.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, I know I gave a little bit about you, but can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Yes, so I like to call myself a serial entrepreneur because I have two businesses. I have one, C Right Consulting, which is an organizational development business that supports individuals and other organizations in strengthening their people, their processes, and their programs. And so I do a lot of coaching and training and program design under that business. And then I have my wellness business, which is Blissfully You Wellness Services, and that provides coaching, wellness services, and then workshop facilitation, primarily for women who are looking to develop the mindset and the skills to overcome life challenges in order to live the lives that they desire. So I have two varied skill sets that I have used to create businesses, and that's pretty much me in a nutshell.
Okay, so just to dive right in, what does it mean to have a business mindset?
I believe that having a business mindset really is thinking strategically about how you can use a skill or a product in order to produce some type of result. So, for instance, I have two service-based businesses, so I use my skill set in order to generate income, whereas someone else may have a product that they see there's a need for, and so they use that as a way to generate income. So it's being able to look at what's happening around yourself, where there are gaps, and then being able to fill those gaps in with your idea or your skills, whatever it is, in order to generate that income.
Okay, now can you learn to become more business minded?
Yeah, so I like to tell people, like, I wasn't born an entrepreneur. I didn't grow up in an entrepreneurial home. I wasn't in an environment where we were encouraged to start businesses. And so it was a lot of me learning along the way what it is that I needed in order to be able to thrive in a business. And so I think that people can develop the mindset if they want to. Not everybody who starts a business or has a side hustle really has that business mindset. And I think it's more by choice than by their innate abilities, because I believe that we all have the ability to do it. It's just we have to make a conscious choice of whether or not we are going to put our focus and our energy into that.
Yeah. And so I know, like you said, so many people want to start a business and don't have that mindset to do so. So what are some things or some tools that they can, I guess, incorporate before they take that leap?
Well, it's first figuring out like why you want to start the business. I think particularly now going through this pandemic that there was a big push for people to become entrepreneurs. It's like, oh, you see how disposable you are in your place of work. You need to have some type of backup plan. But if you're just deciding to start a business or become an entrepreneur because that's what the world is telling you, then you're not going to be able to develop that mindset, because I believe part of it is having a heart for it. And so I think it's starting with the why, understanding why you want to start a business, why you want to be an entrepreneur, and then going into the what. Well, what is it that you're going to offer this what are you going to offer to the world? How are you going to make this world better? I always think of it that way, as opposed to how am I going to make money off of people? And then it's like, now that I know that, what type of impact do I want to have? So it's like, I have this business idea. This is what I want to offer. Well, how do I want that to impact other people? How do I want people to engage and walk away from their interaction with my business? So I think it's just asking yourself and doing some reflection around the why and the what. And then you can start to fill in the knowledge gaps. Like, okay, do I want an LLC? Do I need a C Corp, S Corp, those types of things? That stuff you can find online, but it really is figuring out the why first, because that why is what's going to drive you during those dry periods. They're going to drive you during those periods of frustration. It's going to drive you during the periods where you're questioning yourself as to why you even thought to start a business. So it's really getting grounded in that first, and then exploring the structure and those next steps.
Yeah. And I know some people just get caught up into like the why, like, what is my purpose? I don't know what to do. So what would you say for those people that they're stuck with not knowing how to move forward?
I think just start with something. Mm-hmm. So, my story is that I started with my organizational development business, but I had this wellness background. So I'm a trained yoga teacher, Reiki practitioner, a doula. So I have this whole other wellness side to me. And I knew that I wanted to be of service to people, but I wanted to use those, that training to be of service to people, but I couldn't figure out why or how. So I started with the business that I knew the why and how. I already had clients lined up, so it was easy to do that. And then I allowed it to naturally progress into starting this second business. Interestingly enough, with the pandemic, the second business had more attention because we're focusing on wellness and things of that nature than my first business, which was what I used to make the leap into being a full-time business owner. So I think it is like, just start with what you're interested in, and then allow yourself the grace to explore that interest. Give yourself a year, give yourself a year and a half, and say, well, how does this make me feel when I'm engaging in this type of work? Because it was a lot of trial and error on my side to say, all right, I really enjoy supporting organizations and their growths and their path to success. But I initially thought I was going to do change management, and then realized that I don't want to deal with those types of problems, like, because you can get very stuck in change management. So I was like, okay, well, what do I actually enjoy doing? I don't like doing research. So I'm not going to can I do the research? Yes, but I'm not going to do it. So it was a lot of just trial and error, seeing what I enjoy doing, because you're going to be spending time doing it. And then you have to be able to advocate for it. So if you don't really enjoy it, it's going to be hard to advocate and then, convince other people or influence other people to buy into what it is that you're trying to sell. So I believe in trial and error. If you're too afraid to take a leap on a trial and error, that's where the side hustle comes in, because you could try out a lot of different things while you still have that safety and security net of your full-time job.
Yeah. And that's what I was going to say next about the difference between a side hustle and, a business. So what would you say the difference is?
Well, I would first say that they're both businesses. And I think it really is just how much time you're giving to them, because I was the queen of a side hustle before I launched my business full time, but it was still a business. So there was structure there, clients, things like that. So if you have a side hustle, you're still a business owner. It's just that you're using less of your time to feed into that business than someone, I think, who is a full-time business owner, relying on their business as their sole source of income or one of the primary sources of income. So both are businesses. I think it's really just the time allocation that separates a side hustle from a full-time business.
Okay. Yeah, because if that is the definition, I'm still into the side hustle because I still have my 9 to 5. But I definitely want to live off of this, one day. And you're right, you can't put all of your time, but it's just like once you get off that 9 to 5, you're hustling on this, trying to make sure everything, you get all your goals met and everything like that. So it's definitely a
It's a different type of
a
pressure.
challenge, yeah, because you really
Yeah.
want it, you really want to do it. So how do you grow from your side hustle, or when would be a good time that you can move and take that leap to go from your side hustle to full blown business?
I would say that it is, there's a couple things to pay attention to. So, first thing is emotionally. Like, if you're still riddled in fear, doubt, or resistance, it's going to be very difficult to jump from the side hustle to the full time because in the full time, like you're operating, I feel like you have to operate in a constant state of faith. Like, it's just gonna work out. We're gonna figure this out. These bills are gonna get paid. People are going to utilize my services. People are gonna hire me, things like that. You have to move from that fear-based thinking into a faith-based thinking. So I think there's the mental aspect that you have to check with yourself before you make the leap. There's obviously a financial aspect. And I will say this was one that probably was my biggest source of fear because I left a well paying job to jump into my business full time. And I had clients lined up, but those clients were finite. They weren't long term, like your job is, it's almost like this unspoken belief that you'll be there until they fire you or that you quit. So, and most likely we believe that we're going to be there until we quit rather than be fired. So we think that we have this longevity in our role. But when you're with a client or you have a client and they're like, it's 3 months, it's like, okay, so what happens after that 3 months? Oh man, I got to figure out what my financial situation is going to be because there's a lot of startup costs that I don't think I was adequately prepared for when I started my business. That took some of the money that I had saved up for just my lifestyle. And then I think part of the financial aspect is really setting a financial goal in mind. For me, I was accustomed to a certain lifestyle. I'm not flashy by any means. I'm not, I drive a Hyundai. Like I'm not fancy, but I like to be able to, if I want to get a bottle of wine or go out to dinner, I could do that and not be worried like, dang, I only got 14 cents in my account.
Right.
So I really took a look at my finances and identified where were areas that I could cut back on. But then what were some of my non-negotiables? Like I'm really into self-care. So it's like, I need to provide a self-care service for myself that's outside of one that I can do for myself. So like going to get a massage or a manicure and a pedicure or a facial. So I incorporated that into my budget. And then once I got to that number, I was like, okay, I need to make sure I have this amount of money saved up for at least 3 months after this client. So I have my client that were my anchor clients, and then I need an additional at least 3 months because I know in that 3 month period, I have two options. One is to get another client that's going to pay to help extend that. Or two, I'm going to have to find a side hustle until I could secure that additional client. So it's like in those beginning stages, I think a lot of people have this mindset that they're going to go from leaving their business and just having the side hustle and they're going to jump into an Amazon like business. And it's like, who no, those most small businesses don't begin to see profit until 3 to 5 years. So in those first few years, you're going to be in a state of like starting and going and figuring out what strategic things you're going to have to do in order to maintain your financial flow. And so I think that goes back to the why and understanding why you're doing this. And then there's the emotional aspect. Like, are you ready to rely on yourself completely? Rely on the skill set that you have. And the thing is that even though you think that you're doing this big, huge thing, the people around you may just kind of write it off. They're like, oh, okay, that's great. Like we support you, but they don't really support you how you're expecting them to support you. And so it's like my friends And my family, they support me. They support me emotionally. They support me mentally. They might post some of my things. They might share some of my things, but they're not my extended marketing team. So it's like everything I'm doing, they're not going to be out there selling me because they have their own personal brands that they have to think about and themselves. And so, I think it's an adjustment in that emotional space to make sure that you're not feeling left out or isolated or alienated because you've made this decision. Like you have to be very confident in standing on your own, because that is what you're going to be doing a lot of. You're now the sole decision maker in the things that you're doing in your life and for your business.
Yeah, and that is a hard pill to swallow. Like you said, when you have those customers that may just be for 3 months, and then, you have to still pay your bills and everything, and you have downgraded as much as, you can. My thing is, I'm a foodie. So my thing,
Yeah, I was like, I
want
like
to
to
go to the
eat.
grocery store and be able to get what I like. That's my whole
Yes.
thing. It's not
Yes.
flashy. It's like a foodie type of thing. I just want to continue to be able to do that and not be like, oh, I can't do that. So that's just my thing. But it's just, so what do you say when you have those hard times like that, where the customers may not be coming in? And definitely if you are depending on your friends and family, is that really a business? Because you have to step away from that, I think, before you consider yourself a full-fledged business. Because of course, if they can, they will always support you, but you just need those clients that, really are into whatever you're doing and enjoy your services or whatever.
Yeah, I think when it comes to clients, it really is your network. And so, like, when you're still in that full time business mode, and even when you come into being, a full time entrepreneur, it's your network that is going to carry you. And I always, I believe in leading with compassion. And so it's not like, what can you do for me? It's, hey, I think you're a great person. I'm a great person. Let's be great people together. And then things just organically happen from there. And I would say that the clients that I came because of my network, not because I was selling myself. It was a student that I had previously did an informational interview with someone, and that person, who happened to be a former professor, was working for an organization that needed my services. And that web just kind of happened. It's like, who's saying your name in what room? And so I think it's maintaining those relationships so that when opportunities come up, people will say your name. And I think that's a lot of where my business comes from, is that, people might be in a space and they're like, we need a trainer, we need a program designer, we need someone to lead a mindfulness class. Oh, I remember Courtney does that. And Courtney maintains the relationship so that I can remember that she does that. And there's different ways to maintain a relationship so that you're not feeling like every day you're picking up the phone and texting people and being like, hey, I'm still existing. It's just figuring out ways to engage them, whether it's an email, every once in a while, or a LinkedIn message or something of that nature, so that you can engage them. And then in terms of like the finances, I always, I recently read Amanda Seals's book, and the book she talked about a multi-hyphenate, and that's someone who leverages all of their skills in order to earn income. My background is in education. I'm a teacher by training. And so I always know that during lull periods, I can always go back to teaching. I could teach at the collegiate level. I could teach at the high school level. I could teach adult learners. I could teach ESL. So that's what I fall back on. So it's like, I have that and I see those things as a side hustle because that's not my main source of income. They're just there to supplement when there might be leaner periods. So again, it's kind of like, once you've gotten clear on your why and your what, it's identifying what skill set you have and how you can leverage that skill set in order to bring an income in for you.
Yeah. So I agree. So definitely, if you have any type of certifications from like your main 9 to 5, because I know I do, not letting them go till you reach that goal, that financial goal that's already in my head, that I know there's no turning back, hopefully after that. So I definitely agree with that. So is there a difference between a business plan and a plan for your business?
I think that a business plan is just a more formal document that you present to banks, loan companies, those types of institutions that might be looking at it to provide you funding. And it's also your blueprint. So I'm a strong proponent of having a business plan. I think people need to determine the format of that business plan for themselves and then creating it so that you have this blueprint. But I think having a plan for your business is slightly different in the sense that, to me, it's more mental. So it's like, what is the vision? So when I hear that question, I think about, what is the vision that I have for my business? So a lot of people will say, Courtney, you're a great writer, or, an excellent facilitator. You could be the next Oprah. Well, I don't want to be the next Oprah. I don't want that type of responsibility. This is the plan and the vision that I have for my business. And once I make it there, then I know that I've reached that goal. And if I want to go further than that, I can decide or not. So I have my business plan, and then I have the plan of where I see my business going.
Okay. At what point did you realize that you wanted to own your own business?
So I had worked as a consultant. I was based in South Sudan. I was there during their transition. And so it was informative because they brought me in to do some training. And I'm like, oh, look, they hired me. They're paying me. I'm getting this experience. There's some flexibility here. They're looking to me to be a thought leader and to provide them direction, which I appreciate it because I'm not going to lie. I know that I'm intelligent and I know that I have strong experiences and a good skill set. And so I'm confident in my ability to deliver whatever is being asked of me and exceed of that. So I was in this experience and I like the flexibility. I like that I made a nice amount of money in a short period of time doing something that I really enjoyed. And so that was back in 2011. And so I looked at that and was like, all right, I want to be my own boss. Again, I didn't grow up with entrepreneurs. I didn't grow up with business owners. It's kind of like the businesses were just there. It's like, oh, who's the person behind the business? And you don't really think about that. At least I didn't as a kid. I'm like, you go to the corner store and they're just there. And so it was at that point where I was like, I want to be a consultant full time. Like, I want to help people solve their problems, but I don't want to be wedded to an organization because I get bored easily. So I like to have variety. And it was at that point where I was like, okay, well, now I need to start doing my work. And that's when I started doing my side hustle, where I was like, I'll take on consultant projects, some paid, some pro bono, to get more experience to build my portfolio. I'm going to start doing research. I'm going to take classes. I'm going to do informational interviews so that I can put myself in a position to do this full time. And it took me 7 years.
Yeah. Okay.
Not because I didn't have the knowledge or the skills, because of that fear portion. And I think that's why I say people have to really address the fear before you jump full time, because if you're being led by fear, it's going to lead you back to that 9 to 5.
Yeah. And I smile because I'm there now. It's just, even though I haven't reached my financial goal to just put, jump towards my business full time, it's a fear of not knowing, the unknown, basically. And like you said, I didn't grow up with a bunch of entrepreneurs in my family either, but I just know that I want the freedom. I want the freedom I had been doing my business too. So I've been doing mine for about six years. And, just when the whole pandemic came about and, you're working and they're saying, you still have to come to work. And I'm just like, oh no, like, I just need to have the freedom where if something like this happens, you're not still trying to make people come in and people are, very scared, not knowing what, this whole thing was about. And I was just like, you know what, I need to definitely buckle down, make sure that, I get things in place, because I just didn't like that feeling of having somebody else in charge of, my life and telling me what it is. So I do get it. I just, hope that people never give up, because even if it takes you 10 years while working your side hustle, you just have to keep going and doing it until you get to a place where you're comfortable to move forward. So
And some
So,
people are okay with having a side hustle. So I don't want people to think that a side hustle automatically has to become a full-time business. Like for a while, my side hustle provided balance because I really did enjoy my job. Like I worked in a school, I enjoyed my coworkers. And so
mhm,
I had a great time there, but my side hustle allowed me to utilize a different skill set. And so it was kind of there just to balance out my 9 to 5. So it's like, again, asking yourself, do I want to do this full time? Do I
mhm,
want to stay as a side hustle? Whatever it is, I mean, ultimately it's your choice. And then from there, that's when you start to get strategic about how you're moving so that you can make sure that your side hustle, whatever it is fulfilling. Or if you want to make that transition from having that side hustle to a full time, that you're being strategic in plotting out that process.
mhm. So with that balance, and I know people can do that, but I'm just thinking about like burnout too, and then what about your side hustle started blowing up? Do you just keep it like at two clients? So, it doesn't become overwhelming. I mean, that's a good problem to have to kind of like decide, which way you want to go. So, yeah. So did you deal with perfectionism at all as far as before you moved to try to make everything as, perfect as possible? There's no such thing, but did you have to deal with that at all?
Oh, yes, because I'm very detail oriented. And so, like, I double cross T's, double dot I's. Like, I'm a little OCD. And so, I just believe in delivering a good product. And I also believe in doing your best work all the time. And so, when I was starting the business or transitioning or making the move away from the full time business, there
Mhm.
were things where I was like, okay, I got to make sure my website looks right. Like I need to get all of these things like in order before I can like put myself out there. And then I'm like, but now that I'm in it and been in it, people don't really pay attention to your website. They're not really, there's certain things that I was like, I have to be very clear in this, and this. And this, and this might be like, what's my process for, once a client comes on, how do I onboard that client? And so I did this whole client onboarding process. And then I'm like, oh, but when it actually happens, I skip steps 2 and 4. So now I have to go back and update this client onboarding process because I didn't know what it was going to look like until it was actually in action. So there's certain things where I realized that I was putting a lot of time and effort and using it as a tool to fuel my fear. So again, that fear thing, man, it will creep up on you and it will show up in so many different ways. So it's like everything has to be perfect. But then when I sit back and reflect, I'm like, I was looking for perfection because I was still fearful of making that leap.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, I got clients before. I didn't even have a website. I didn't have like a fully formalized business. I didn't have a client onboarding process. I like those things now because I am an organizational development person. And so I believe in having processes because it makes things flow smoothly. But there are certain things where I was like, oh, when I had this as my side hustle, they sent me a contract. I looked at the contract, I agreed to the contract, and then I followed the scope of work. It was very clear. So it's like I didn't have all of the bells and the whistles and was still getting clients and maintaining clients because of the quality of work and then the relationship and the trust that they could put in me to deliver what it is that they were asking.
Yeah. And I do agree with that approach. So many people get bogged down with trying to make sure everything is perfect without taking action. And action is where you can reflect, once that's
Mhm.
over, okay, what worked well, what didn't. Let me start jotting down process and then you do it. But
Mhm.
I just think the biggest takeaway is that you must take action. I was listening to a podcast one day, and I can't remember who said it. They was just like, if you're not embarrassed about, either your first prototype or your first client or whatever, you waited too late to try to get
Mhm.
everything perfect. Nothing is going to be perfect. You just have to take action, and document on the back end sometimes so you can move forward. So I do agree with that. So how often do you assess? Um, or align your business goals with your vision?
Ooh, it is an ongoing process, but I try to be intentional about it quarterly. So every quarter, at the start of the quarter, I will reflect on what I did in the previous quarter, what worked well, what didn't work well. And I have feedback loops. So after every service that I deliver, every workshop that I run, I always send out a questionnaire asking for feedback, because that will help me get a better understanding of my client, who is my priority. I'm here to serve them, how they were impacted and interacted with the service that I provided. And so that feeds into, okay, so this was great. This needs to be tightened up. And then this didn't work so well. And then I also, not just for my client, I think about how I feel. So I realized that at the start of the pandemic, I was offering online yoga classes. There's a lot of work that goes into that. And there's not a lot of return on the investment. And although people are walking away peaceful, and that is, a gift that I'm happy to give, it just wasn't the best use of my time at the point where I'm trying to expand a business. So I took that off as something that I offered, because it wasn't the best fit for me. But had I not did that reflection, I would still be doing it and then feeling burnt out, because I was offering this service that of course brings people peace, but it was disrupting my own peace.
And one thing too with you said getting feedback from your client, I really take questionnaires more seriously now when you have your own business and you see how vital it is, because sometimes you just hear crickets, when you're sending stuff out, and it's very important to get that feedback so you can make improvements. So I definitely,
or keep doing something that you get positive feedback on. Like if people are interacting with it in a positive way, then let me not get rid of it, or maybe not, just shelve it, because people enjoy it.
yeah. In regards to wellness, what are some things that you do to maintain your wellness for yourself and also your business?
Yes. So I'm all about wellness. And I think, I mean, if you are burnt out, you can't put your best foot forward. And that hurts the bottom line, because if you deliver um, a below average product, people are not going to recommend you, and then they're not going to return.
Mm-hmm.
And so part of that is taking care of yourself. And so for me, I schedule out rest breaks. And this is something when I'm coaching someone, I always recommend, like, when are you taking your rest breaks? So every quarter you should be taking a 2-day rest break, in my mind, so that you have time to really rejuvenate. As a full-time business owner, I work 6 days a week, and I'm thinking about my business 7 days a week. So you don't really shut it off completely, because there's always something you can do, particularly if you're a one-woman show. So I know that if I don't schedule out these rest weekends, then I'm going to burn out, because you're constantly in your business mode until you get to a place where it's more automatic and automated, and you're rolling in the dough. So I do those rest weekends. I take vacations, particularly. So last summer, I hosted an online virtual conference for 3 days. And then after I finished and wrapped it up, I took a week off. And then I took another week off in December, and I will take a week off around my birthday in June. So I give myself those types of breaks. So I get a quarterly break, and then I give myself a longer break. And then during my work week, I try not to work past 10 o'clock. So my schedule is shifted where I don't have to pop up at 7 a.m. to get ready for my 9 a.m. start time. So I allow myself I wake up without an alarm sometime between 7:30 and 8. I take my time. If I don't have a client meeting or something happening in the morning, I take my time to ease myself into the day, because I'm a believer that how you start your day is it's going to reflect in how your day flows. So it's like, in the morning, I make myself breakfast, I take a nice shower, I'm jamming to my music. I really take my time. I do reading, I do my journaling, my affirmations, things of that nature. And then when I'm ready to start working, I'm at peace and I'm clear, because I took that time. So I really do believe that there has to be some type of day-to-day wellness practice that is necessary. And then, like I said, I like a good massage. I like a manicure, pedicure. I love a good yoga class. those are the types of things that I will incorporate on at least a monthly basis. Yoga, I do more frequently so that I'm able to kind of just give myself that intentional time to relax. So when it comes to myself, I'm a big advocate. I'm not a, there's been times where I've done like all nighters because I had to, but I believe in rest and I'm gonna get my 7, 8, sometimes 9 if I'm lucky hours of sleep a night. And if I need to, because I'm doing I would say like intellectually heavy work in terms of like designing trainings or things of that nature, I take naps. So I'm an advocate for a nap. I will do a quick 30-minute nap. I took a nap this evening because I was like, if I'm going to show up on here and be fresh faced, I'm going to need to take this nap. It's been a long day. And so I do that. And then in terms of my business, like I changed how I defined my business's success and how I define my business's failure. And then I allow my business, when I think about my businesses, I look at them in the same way that I would want to see myself. So I give my businesses grace when they may not be performing in the way that I want them to, or perhaps something happened where something unexpected happened. And so I think it's just, knowing that it's constantly evolving and it's growing just like I am, and allowing to be myself and my business to be open to receiving whatever it is that we need in order to continue moving forward.
Yeah. And I so agree with you with the wellness piece with, yourself, because if you don't take care of yourself, it's just you can't do anything else. And even though our main mission is to get people going live for my business, but I dedicated, it's 4 weeks in a month mostly, and sometimes you have 5, but we wanted to have like 3 that definitely focus on, going live and tackling that, but definitely have that 4th to kind of like talk about self-care, because again, if you don't take care of yourself, you have nothing left. I agree. I do like my naps too. And it gives you like a little boost to continue on. And especially like if you start early, like you, I went through I guess in the beginning, I didn't really have a morning routine. But now I find that you definitely need to have that morning routine to get your mind ready to start your day. And it does help out, because seeing the before and seeing the after, it's just, it just, I can see the difference.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is very important.
And one of the other things that I incorporated in the last year was my Sundays. So my Sundays are my Sundays. And I have, I don't want to say I've trained, but I have conditioned the people around me to know that my my engagement with on them Sundays is optional. Like if I really want to show up, I will, but in most cases, I probably won't. And I may not text you. I may not so I don't look at social media like that. I really am I shut it off, because that is my one day out of the 7 days that I'm not thinking about my business like that I'm not working. I don't accept clients. I've had clients be like, yeah, can you take an appointment on Sunday? And I'm like, no, there's no dollar amount that would make me give up the one day that I have for myself. And so it really is setting those boundaries and protecting your time so that you can take those days for just you. Because when again, I'm in a service-based business, a lot of my time goes into pouring into other people. And I know that I can't do that with integrity and ethically if I'm not full myself. Like I can't be telling you, you need to get a self-care routine, and I'm over here like sludging around, burnt out, falling apart. I ain't got no routine, none of that. Like integrity is important to me. So anything that I'm preaching about or talking about or encouraging people to do, it's something that I'm doing myself. And I have found it to be of value. And so I want other people to feel the value of that action. So yeah, I believe my Sundays, it's me, sleep, church maybe. Sometimes I got to see God on Monday because I missed him on Sunday. And, just relaxing, whatever that looks like. Baths, wine, cooking, naps. Yeah.
Yeah. And for me, it's just the vacation part. I need to work on that. So if I go on vacation, I still will, maybe the first 2 days I'll be fine. But then like the third day, I'll start writing down some stuff I need to do and then I'll go back. But I really need to get in the, I guess, mindset of really turning everything off. And I'm really trying to get to that point. I'm just being honest. It's just like, oh my God, your mind doesn't shut off, even though you're trying to. So I definitely need to work on that. Just like in the morning, I wake up and sometimes it's just like, okay, you may have an idea, you may all this stuff. So it's like, really, when it's time to turn it off, I really need to work on just doing that. So I know I can do better in that one, and I plan to.
And it's good that you have the awareness. Like, it's like, I need to shut it off because it's not conducive to me being my best self. And so now, what is a small thing that I could do to shut it off? Maybe, when I'm laying down by the pool, I don't bring my phone. So I'm less apt to want to check the emails or things of that nature. And it allows me to be fully present in that moment. So it's just those little things that start to add up. And then you feel more comfortable and confident saying, okay, like I can completely disconnect, because the last time I did it, nothing burned down. So I was good.
Absolutely. And I agree with that. Look, but then I'll be trying to remember my mind, like, what was it? What I look going back to the hotel room, like, what was it? No, but no, I get it. I definitely need to do that. And like I said, I'm very serious and intentional about, making that happen. So any final thoughts that you want to leave with us?
Oh, there's so many. But I think the biggest thing is really to live in your joy, whatever that looks like. So if you are an aspiring entrepreneur, you are a startup entrepreneur, you are a maybe one day, possibly, perhaps an entrepreneur, or you're full-time. I've been entrepreneuring for decades now. I think part of it is we got into this work because we wanted to have freedom, and we wanted to have freedom to live lives that we desire. And that part of that is living in that joy. So in the beginning or in those stressful periods, it's like, what can you do to find joy? What does that look like? I might blast Lizzo and watch videos of my niece, or I might go for a walk and engage with nature, or I might go to my girlfriend's house and drink champagne and laugh and joke and whatever it is that you do with your girlfriends, all the kikiing and gossiping, whatever it is that brings you joy. I travel, all of that. Lean into that and don't hold it from yourself because you feel like, if I give myself joy, I'm neglecting my business. Your business is better off when you're joyful, because that joy then passes on to the people that you're serving.
Yeah. So what's next for you, and how can we support you?
So I have a couple upcoming workshops. One is beginning this weekend. It's called The Art of Boundaries, Reclaiming Your Power and Time. I'm doing that with a sister friend who owns a business here in the DC area. And it really is for people who have a hard time managing their boundaries. They let people come in and it's like they can't say no. They're giving too much of their time away. And they're just looking for some tips and tools to help them reestablish or maintain those boundaries. It's a 4-part series. You can go into my IG to sign up for that. Additionally, I offer Pick My Brain coaching sessions. These are micro coaching sessions for people who don't want to make a full-time commitment, but do have some particular questions and maybe want some guidance or clarity around an area in their life that they're trying to strengthen or a goal that they're trying to reach. So those are definitely the two biggest areas. And then of course, if you have if you work for an organization or business that could use a little wellness, I do facilitate wellness workshops for organizations and businesses that are trying to integrate more of that mental health support to their employees. And those are private sessions. So I think those are the 3 biggest areas of support. And then coaching, I do a lot of coaching. And I will say this, this is my little secret, but it's not a secret because I'm telling y'all now. I worked for an organization that had a professional development fund, and I used my professional development fund to pay for a coach who was the coach that put me in the position where I was able to leave that full-time job and launch my business. Now they didn't know, now they know, who cares? I don't work for them anymore. But when I signed up for this coach, it was supposed to help me being stronger in my role for this organization. But when we talked about my vision, it was like, that was not it. So she helped me to basically create a path where I can move into that vision. So I say all this to say is that if your company has a professional development fund and they allow you to hire a coach, use that to hire me. And then you don't have to spend your money, you're spending your company's money, and it's going to a good place.
That is a word.
Yes.
You have to use what is given to you and be resourceful. So yes, I love that tip. I really do. Yeah, because a lot of people wouldn't think to work it that way. So I'm definitely glad you said that.
Yes, don't spend your money. They got the money. And you know, if you need help formulating how this could be related to your position, I'm here for it. I will help you. I will help you navigate that because I know what it's like. And these resources are out there to help you grow. And that's what I do as a coach is I help you grow. So you might as well put it towards something that is going to help move you forward in whatever direction you're trying to go.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Courtney. I really, really appreciate you coming on the bandwidth and spending some time with us.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me. I enjoyed it.
Not a problem. So again, if you enjoyed this live, please, please, please share it with one person that you know could benefit from this episode. Also, if you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please make sure that you subscribe and also follow us on IG Live, and that's Faulkner_Rosie. And please make sure that you follow Courtney as well. And please say your handle.
It's blissfully_you, just the letter U, _wellness.
There you go. So again, thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you next week with another episode of The Bandwidth. Bye-bye.